breastfeeding. So, I am here, I'm Dr. Pooja Marathe. I'm the community expert helping you out to do a lot of myth busting today in and around breastfeeding. And first of all, congratulations to all the new moms who have just begun their journey in the world of breastfeeding. Well, I really can relate to you because breastfeeding looks a lot simple, but it's a more different version than what you expect on an everyday basis. And the challenge is really, really interesting when you know that breastfeeding can be more and more useful to your child as your child helps you and works with you in a very beautiful and a challenging manner. So, to begin our session today, we are going to do some myth busting, before which we're going to listen to a story. The story is interesting about a group of young women, young working women, who have been discussing about their pregnancies amongst their community. So they were at a function and they were discussing like how their journey has been, what the doctor has suggested them. But amongst which there were two women who were very patiently listening to whatever the other women were talking about. Now a twist comes over here. The age group in which these women were a working category from the age of 20 to 30 years. So all young minds, tech buzz, smart, innovative women who were going to be first time moms. But amongst them were some mothers who had already experienced breastfeeding before with their first child, but they were also very inquisitive to know, what these young women had on their minds and how could they read that. So when this topic became interesting, they started sharing, their views that they should not do breastfeeding in the initial 24 hours. Or if they do breastfeeding for a longer time, the baby is going to be gassy. Or breastfeeding is something which only elderly women do. Now the inquisitiveness started building up amongst the second time moms, and they felt that these were the things which were just read about or just told by some people or just being heard or being passed on from generations on and generations on. But always believe on an expert who guides you well, who knows you, and who always is available with you on your journey of breastfeeding. So, today in our session, we are going to do something known as myth busting. Okay, now let us understand what a myth is. A myth is generally a fact which is stated by somebody. ऐसी कोई चीज होती है जो सिर्फ बताई जाती है, सुनी जाती है और पढ़ी जाती है, लेकिन इसके पीछे कोई रीजन नहीं होता है ये बताने के लिए कि ये सही है या गलत है, इसके मायने कितने रखते हैं। यहाँ पे हमको ये सोचना चाहिए कि ये मिथ जो होती है इसको हम कैसे बाधाओं से निकाल के इसका साइंटिफिक रिसर्च इसको ऐड करके हम लोग इसे और इंटरेस्टिंग बना सकते हैं। सो लेडीज, व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मिथ बस्टिंग, उसको हमेशा एक साइंटिफिक रिसर्च के दौरान उसको एक अलग स्वरूप दिया जाता है। वेरी कॉमन मिथ्स which we have in our society is, you should only eat plain food when you're breastfeeding. Exercise more so that the taste of your milk is much better. You should separate a newborn and the mother so that the mother can rest. Excuse me. Now, in this era of 21st century, when you read about all these myths, what do you feel? You feel that this could be lame, or we could say this could be something tagged along with you because you have heard it from somewhere, because somebody has told you a relative has told you, an auntie has given you a suggestion, a grandmother's experience, your mom's experience, or your malishwali, who is the most common person we have an acquaintance with on a day to day basis after our childbirth. But listening to an expert's opinion on baby chakra is going to guide you for your beautiful journey of breastfeeding. Now, to begin with the first breastfeeding myth that I'm going to break for today, it is a very interesting fact, and it is a very well known fact that you should be eating only plain food for breastfeeding. Now, this is a myth. Let me clarify, this is a myth. Why? Because since the time your child is born, he or she is completely aware and dependent on you. You have served him or her in the womb for 9 months. You have been taking care of your child's health. You have been eating nutritious food. Sorry. You have been ensuring that you have been having the right amount of nutrition for the child's weight to be adequate, for your health to be adequate. But then, when you are going to breastfeed, why you have to eat very limited amount of food? Research says, and along with WHO, breastfeeding mothers need to have a well balanced diet. And there is no need to change any kind of food habit pertaining to any kind of a religion, ethnicity, background, or any social reforms. Babies who are exposed to their mother's food preferences from time to time, they respect that kind of food and react to the food which the mother has been eating. That is the reason we always say that the pregnant ladies have to enjoy their pregnancy and experience the variety of food which helps them to get the taste and also pamper your food cravings. Sounds interesting, isn't it? Well, the basic thought behind this is breastfeeding is also a wonderful experience. But the only adjustment over here we have to understand is that the child is with us. It's outside the womb. Nourish your child with the most enriched formula, which is the breast milk. I do not say the medical formula, I say your own milk is the best for your baby for the first 6 months, and make it a point that you exclusively breastfed so your work is much more easier. The second the second myth which we are going to burst today is you and your newborn should be separated after the feeding is done so the mom can have some rest. Excuse me. But having an Indian origin and the culture, we see that most of the children co-sleep with their parents for the initial 1 year. But in the Western countries, in the other parts of the world, we see most of the children are sleeping separately in a separate room. Well, that's the cultural diversity. But having a lot of skin to skin, now what do you mean by skin to skin? Where we expose our child to our chest to gain the comfort and the child can breastfeed. This allows a lot to bring the mother at rest because she holds him with those emotions, with those love. And this is what helps the baby to stimulate the breast, and also the breastfeeding will be much, much better. The quality of the milk, the quantity of the milk, the time of feeding, and if you have a partner who is helping you, the partner could be anybody. You can be sorry, be dependent on your mom, you can be dependent on your husband, you can be dependent on your mother-in-law, or you can also be dependent on your child who is there to help you out. Your child may not be present there in the initial times, but you could just help ask your child to take some time off and you can get that peace. I do understand that all the mothers who are here listening to me must have experienced that breastfeeding sometimes becomes painful, it becomes difficult, it becomes, different. You're not able to breastfeed, there's a lot of pain in your breast because of some reason. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to breastfeed your child. So I'm going to break the third myth for the day, that you won't be able to breastfeed unless you do it straight away. Now, what does this mean? Well, we look at it into two ways. हम लोग इसको दो दो चीजों से देख सकते हैं. जब हम हॉस्पिटल में होते हैं, हमारे पास नर्सेज होती है, डॉक्टर्स होते हैं, बहुत बहुत रिलेटिव्स आते हैं, फैमिली मेंबर्स आते हैं जो हमें हेल्प करते हैं. लेकिन जब हम हॉस्पिटल से घर आते हैं, तब हम अपने खुद पे भरोसा रख के हम लोग ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग करना शुरू करते हैं. यहाँ पे हम लोगों को ये देखना है कि बेबी के जो रिफ्लेक्सेस होते हैं, जब बेबी का बर्थ होता है, द बेबी इज डायरेक्टली अटैच्ड विद द मदर थ्रू द ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग इन द फर्स्ट आवर, एंड दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इनिशियली जब हम लोग ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग करते हैं तो कुछ ड्रॉप्स ही आते हैं. मदर्स को लगता है कि बहुत ढेर सारा दूध आना चाहिए, इट शुड बी ऑफ अ फ्लोइंग कंसिस्टेंसी. नो, इनिशियली सिर्फ गोल्डन कलर का लिक्विड होता है जो आता है, जिसे हम लोग बोलते हैं कोलेस्ट्रॉल. इसके कारण बेबी की इम्यूनिटी जो है वो बहुत अच्छे से बढ़ जाती है, और ये कोलेस्ट्रम हर 2 से 3 दिन तक आता है, और उसके बाद दूध की जो सफिशिएंसी है वो बढ़ती है. इसीलिए हमको ये पहले 3 दिन बच्चे को स्तनपान करना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. यस लेडीज, वी हैव टू एंश्योर दैट वी गिव दिस कोलेस्ट्रम which is an integral part of the baby's food, and baby's diet is very very important. And because of this, you are saving a life, you're giving a life to your newborn. One question has come which says for how long we should be doing this. Well, we have to understand that feeding is on demand. Your child is trying to understand the outside womb environment. So, the child will be expressing it by crying. So, you cannot time yourself, that you have to give around 5 times, 6 times. Give it on demand. It happens more. Initially, it could go around 8 to 12 times a day, but that's okay. It's what is called as rooming in the technical term, जहाँ पे हम लोग ये समझते हैं कि बच्चा और माँ सुरक्षित है, उनकी तबीयत अच्छी है, और कोविड की सिचुएशन को समझते हुए हम लोग ये भी देखते हैं कि बच्चे को इन्फेक्शन ना हो, और ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग से ज्यादा फायदा हो. क्योंकि स्तनपान ही एक ऐसी चीज है जो बच्चे को हर नियमित रूप से बहुत ही ज्यादा अच्छे से उसका अ, शक्ति बढ़ाती है, और उसके कारण बच्चे को आसानी होती है समझने में कि क्या चल रहा है. सॉरी, दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये आया है कि हम कितने टाइम करेंगे ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग. जब हम लोग शुरू करते हैं तो हमें ये पता है कि दोनों ब्रेस्ट में से करना चाहिए. ऐसे सुनने में आया है कि ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग दोनों टाइम से करना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक में दूध रहता है, एक में खाना रहता है. दिस इज द फोर्थ myth that I'm bursting. This is absolutely wrong. We have been hearing this from the nurses, from the doctors, from the relatives, from the generations and generation. Feed both the breasts at the same time, and you will be having a good amount of milk and food for your baby. I'm sorry, moms, but this is not true. We have to understand that feeding from the breast gives you two kinds of milk. One is the fore milk and one is the hind milk. Secondly, we have to understand that when you are giving the feed, the fore milk comes in, जैसे पतला दूध रहता है जिसमें विटामिन रहते हैं, मिनरल्स रहते हैं, कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स रहते हैं, प्रोटीन्स रहते हैं. और हाइंड मिल्क जिसे बोलते हैं उसे हम लोग बोलते हैं उसमें फैट्स ज्यादा रहता है, तो उसके कारण बच्चे का वजन भी ज्यादा अच्छे से बढ़ता है। तो आपको ये नहीं सोचना है कि 15 मिनट हो गए, मेरा फीडिंग खत्म होना है या मुझे चेंज करना है, ऐसा नहीं है। यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग आप जब करते हो, आपको ध्यान रखना है कि आप मिनिमम टाइम जो होगा वो 25 से 30 मिनट तक फीडिंग करना आपको जरूरी है। एक्सक्यूज मी। So, feeding from both the breast is very necessary, yes, but also understand what kind of quality milk you are feeding for your child. It is not milk and water, but you are feeding both the things from one breast, and you can switch over to another breast during the same feeding interval. Absolutely right. You can do it. The fourth question, or the fifth myth, which I'm going to burst today, is that, you know, you can never use a formula if you want to breastfeed. Well, yes, that's a very genuine myth. But sometimes some situations may come in manner where the child is not being able to breastfeed, or the delivery is happened early before the expected date, or in a situation where the mom is not able to express herself, then sorry, we have to we have to give a formula. We, as in the doctors, prescribe the formula, but we cannot blatantly believe कि यही हमारे लिए सही है, यही हमारे बच्चे के लिए सही है. You have to discuss it with your pediatrician. You have to discuss it with your neonatologist why you're introducing a formula, which type of formula. Because the market is huge, but there are exceptions where the baby's health is extremely critical at that given point of time. We have good different options. जैसे डोनर मिल्क रहता है, मिल्क बैंक से मिल्क लेके आ सकते हैं, या तो फिर हम एक्सप्रेस मदर्स एक्सप्रेस करके भी दे सकती है, या हमारे पास HMF बोलते हैं जो मिल्क पाउडर्स होते हैं, जो डोनर मिल्क से ही बनाए हुए रहते हैं. There are various companies who give these powders, and that is useful for improving the child's weight in the initial premature period. So, formulas can also work in a good manner, but it has to be priorly discussed with your consulting doctor. We cannot randomly choose any formula from the shelf. And believe me, not all the formulas work in favor of your child. So, bursting the sixth myth for today, we have that you shouldn't breastfeed if you're sick. Now, during this COVID times, we have seen so many deliveries happening naturally. Okay. And we have also seen that the vaccination has worked beautifully for pregnant ladies and for lactating moms. लेकिन अगर आपको बुखार है तो आपने ब्रेस्ट फीड नहीं करना चाहिए, ये कहाँ से आपने सुना? दिस इज अ मिथ. एंड आई वुड से दैट अगर आपको बुखार है, अगर आपको फीवर है और आप डॉक्टर के पास जाके आए हो और उन्होंने मेडिसिन दी है, उन्होंने ऐसी मेडिसिन दी है जो बच्चे के लिए सेफ है, डेफिनेटली यू कैन फीड योर चाइल्ड. आपको कोविड हुआ है, आप कोविड पॉजिटिव हो, तभी भी आप आपके बच्चे को डबल मास्क पहन के आप फीडिंग कर सकते हो, बच्चा आपके साथ रह सकता है. बहुत सारी माँ अभी मुझे पूछती है कि मैम हम लोग ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग कर सकते हैं क्या, मैं कोविड पॉजिटिव हूँ. हाँ, डेफिनेटली हमको पॉजिटिव हम लोग पॉजिटिव है, और हम लोगों को ये देखना है कि हम लोग ब्रेस्ट फीड कर रहे हैं. इसलिए हमको ये ध्यान में रखना होगा कि हम लोग जब बीमार हैं तब हमको ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग करना चाहिए. नेक्स्ट इज, बहुत सारी माएँ इनफ मिल्क प्रोड्यूस नहीं करती हैं. वेल, दैट इज अ मिथ. द मिल्क beginning process starts when you are pregnant. So ऐसा नहीं होता है कि आपका दूध बनाने की क्षमता कम हो जाती है। आपके हार्मोन्स की लेवल ऊपर नीचे हो सकती है, लेकिन इसका वजूद ये नहीं होता है कि यू आर नॉट एबल टू प्रोड्यूस गुड क्वांटिटी ऑफ मिल्क और गुड क्वालिटी ऑफ मिल्क. It is the baby who suckles at your breast, and the baby is able to draw the correct amount of milk at the correct time. Mothers do produce a good quantity of milk if you follow a good routine of a well balanced diet, a healthy routine of hydrating yourself. यानी कि ज़्यादा पानी पीना है, लिक्विड्स लेने हैं जैसे नींबू पानी है, बटर मिल्क है, कोकोनट वाटर है, खुद को रेस्ट देने की है, हर वक्त हड़बड़ी में नहीं रहना है. यू डोंट हैव टू बी ओवर वर्किंग टू फिनिश ऑफ योर वर्क. So these are the things. You don't have to be stressed. You have to be very, very pleasant, have a positive environment in your home where you have all the positive vibes. और ये हमें अलाउ करता है हमारा ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग का मिल्क का क्वांटिटी इंक्रीज करने के लिए. Now you can ask any questions on the Baby Chakra app, and you can ask me any doubts in regards to breastfeeding and myth busting. Well, today we were able to burst 5 to 6 myths, and I think it has been most wonderful to have connected with you. I really appreciate your time and your questions which you have asked me for today. If you want to know more about breastfeeding, about anything in regarding to your lactation and nutrition, I am your community expert, and you can follow me on Baby Chakra by the name. You can look in for Dr. Pooja Marathe, and we will be having it over here. So, to all the viewers, a big thank you, and please follow me on Baby Chakra to know more for your exciting journey of motherhood and pregnancy. And also use my referral code Dr. Pooja when you log in into the Baby Chakra app. Thank you so much for your time. Stay tuned for our next webinar on Thursday. See you soon.